You ready?
Everyone's ready. Start straight to question.
Hey, Bruiser, you got a few guys who have never been through this postseason before. How do you think they'll respond? Do you think they're aware of what's coming?
We'll see on Friday. You never know. We got a lot of guys who haven't really been in this situation before, pretty much the entire team. So just another experience for a young group. So I think the guys are excited about going to the tournament. So we just have to see, it's all about our prep. As long as we're prepared mentally, physically to go, I think we'll be all right. But a lot of this is going to be new for most of the guys.
Is there any special message that you give to these freshmen going into a situation like this? Like you said, never been through.
Now, that Cal sort of downplays the SEC tournament. I just think he just wants us to play well and keep our momentum going from what we've been playing the last few weeks. So I think that's the biggest thing right there. But Cal really downplays it, and but I think the guys are excited to go into the tournament to have this experience. I think they're excited about it.
Bruiser, when you went back and looked at the video of the Tennessee game, what impressed you? What do you feel like you guys did well to win that game?
I thought we did some of the thing in the first game. We thought we got bullied a little bit, and we didn't raise to the level of the physicality that you have to raise your level to play against Tennessee. Every team has to raise their level to that type of physicality when you're playing them, and I think we did. And going back, that was one of our biggest things. And we cleaned up some things. They beat us to every loose ball, every loose rebound in the first game. We came up with a lot of those. We talked about certain things that we wanted to do that we didn't do in the first game, and we did it. So, but the biggest thing was, all right, when you're playing Tennessee, what's the number one thing? You got to be ready for a very physical game, and that's the biggest challenge, and I thought we raised to that challenge.
How have you seen Adu kind of progress over the course of this season, especially maybe in that regard with the physicality and the motor, and how important can he be to a tournament team?
Well, I think he's always had that from the beginning, but he missed a month. So, you miss a month and then you come back. But I've always thought he brought great energy to us. But, it takes you a little bit of time to get back. But I think he's playing with that same type of energy. In that respect, I think he's been he's been good. But he's always brought athleticism and energy to the team. And I think he's done that all year.
You say Cal downplays it. How excited are you personally about heading into this thing?
It's tournament time. You always want to win championship. You know what I mean? That's what you play sports for. You always want to try to win a championship, and this is the conference playoffs. And you always want to try to bring that trophy home. You get excited about it. It's going to be tough because this league has been really good, and it's very even from top to bottom. So it's going to be some good games in this tournament. Hopefully on Sunday we lifting the trophy.
You mentioned Adu was missed a month. A guy like Trey, who's got some nagging injuries and beaten up a little bit, how has this extra time helped him, and how close is he close to being, nobody's 100%, but being healthy?
For him, I just think it's about being able to, he wasn't able to do anything. So that's what hurts you a little bit. So for him to be able to get back on the court and do some extra work and really get in, I want to say, basketball shape again, I think that's the biggest thing for Trey. So he's able to do that. He'll probably do a few more workouts more than a couple guys during this time, just to get himself back going again. We're scrimmaging a lot more against each other, so I think that'll help him out too.
With 3 7-footers going into the postseason, is it just going to be a game-by-game thing in terms of who gets more minutes, or the matchup based, and how is that something you all like to have 3 options at your disposal instead of just maybe 1 or 2?
I think we've gone with that since they've sort of came back. Whoever pretty much plays well in the game plays the most minutes. It's worked for us, so I think we can continue that. That's not a problem. All 3 of those guys bring something a little bit different. But I think all 3 of those guys have stepped up when we really needed them to. So hopefully, we're gonna need those guys in the tournament.
Savannah Mayer had that hot start and then disappeared for a couple of games, and then has reemerged a little bit. What have you seen? Has he just been able to adapt to the game a little bit more since that Georgia start? And when he had those 12 points in 5 minutes?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I mean, he couldn't do anything for almost, you know what I mean? He really didn't practice with us, you know, so for him, I mean, he really didn't start doing anything until he came on the court. He just had that great start. But, you know, again, just like Trey, just like it do, when you miss that type of time, it takes you a little bit of time to get yourself back together, get your rhythm going, find your niche, a little bit of what you need to do for us to be able to win. And I think that's what he's finding his way a little bit, and he's playing a little bit better with it.
It's been a few years since you've won this thing. Is the team doing anything different preparation-wise, routine-wise, in order to get ready for this?
I don't think so. I think we're, and I think a lot of that also has to do with each team. So each team is a little bit different. Sometimes you prepare differently when you go into these tournaments with you have. So you know, like I said, we just trying to get ourselves ready. We won't know who we play until Thursday, late Thursday night. So right now we're just working on us a little bit and trying to get ourselves together.
What's different about Antonio now as opposed to a year ago going into the postseason?
One, he's a lot more confident, but that's obvious. I think the players around him have helped him. Last year we asked Antonio to do a lot for us. I don't think he really has that burden on this team, so he can play to his strengths, and he's played to his strengths. He's had an unbelievable season, and I think he's a lot more comfortable playing at this level of play every night. What to expect, not from the fans or anything like that, but when he steps on the court against certain guys, against certain teams. You know, he was good for us last year, but I mean, he's been better. Just because I just think he just has so much more confidence in knowing this is what I'm stepping into right now, and he's had an amazing season.
What is it about this team you think that makes them play just as good, if not better, on the road as opposed to away from home? And how nice is that, knowing you're going into games that are only going to be away from road?
Well, y'all get this narrative about us playing better on the road than at home.
There's just stats about it that say that they'll just shoot better and score more.
Really? Okay, I haven't been paying attention to that stat, but I'm not sure. I don't know how to answer that question because I never really paid attention to it. And I've looked at our season. We've had close games at home and on the road, you know, I don't know. I don't want to say our guys play more comfortable on the road because we've had some really good games at home too. So, but I mean, I think this team has all season long. We just gotten better and better at the things we need to get better and better at. So if a road game came up and we were better at it, we were able to win the road game. If a home game was we need to get better at something, we were better at it at home. You know, at home, one thing about when you're on a team is when you're on the road, it's just you. There's no distractions. You don't worry about your family. You don't worry about all that stuff like that, what's going on. It's all about you. It's about all you guys together in there and one, knowing that if we don't do what we all need to do, then we're going to get hurt in here tonight. So I think that goes to any team. And I think our guys really, you know, when you got a good team, those guys understand that.
Bruce, you talked about the physicality that was needed to beat Tennessee and really this last 5-game winning streak. But does that message kind of maybe, you know, hit home more for guys now about being physical and attacking the glass and all the things to coincide with this winning run?
Well, I mean, when you have young players, you know, this is an older league. They test you that way. So the first thing they're going to see is, okay, I'm going to knock them down a little bit. Let me see how you play. I always laugh with the guys because they talk about how old I am. You know, I played with the short shorts. And they say, what would you do to me if I played against you? I'd knock you down because that's the way we played back then. You know what I mean? So I think we get tested that way because we have a young team. You know, we have mostly freshmen, and they say, you know what? Let's see if they can take it physically. We got guys that have been in school for 4 or 5, some 6 years. You know what I mean? Let's see how it feels. Let's test them in that way. And I think we've done better since the South Carolina game. Because South Carolina was the really true first test of, okay, we're going to beat you up a little bit. I mean, I think we've handled a lot better since then.
You bring up the South Carolina game. Was it just something like that, getting punched in the mouth?
Yeah. You know, these guys haven't experienced it. And, you know, that's what happens when you have a young team. You know, so the best thing about it, I think we've learned from the experience. So I think that's the true value of those guys really picking up what we need to do.
We won't be able to talk to you after the Ole Miss and Texas A&M game. Can you just talk about what you remember about the Ole Miss game and just what worries you about them? And then same thing with Texas.
I actually thought the Ole Miss game was one of our better games in terms of we talk about our details. And I think that was one of the first games when we really looked at it and said, okay, we did the things we talked about consistently. And I thought that sort of got us going a little bit, that game. And Texas A&M, tough game down there. At the time, I was marveling about I've been in basketball for a long time. And when you score 92 points on the road, you usually win. If you're the road team and we lost. I was like, man, we just scored 92 and we lost. But I think that was one of the first meetings of, okay, this is the intensity of being on the road that our guys really got in that building. But tough teams. Like I said, the league has been amazing this year, best since I've been here, from top to bottom. So really good players on both teams. So we're gonna, no matter who we play, it's gonna be a tough game. I think we'll be ready for it.
Would there be something you see in Texas A&M again since that was a loss?
I'll be honest with you. If we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. But they've actually been playing well. Communication. Just being in the right places at the right time. Like I said, go back to your details of your game plan. That's something that you can always get better at. And I think we've improved in that nature. But I think definitely communication is a big thing. That's one of the toughest. I think I spoke before about how you got to get better. The big thing for the young kids is talking and turnovers. We really never turned the ball over, and we've gotten better with our talking. So communication is a big deal, and you can always get better at that. And because our communication is getting better, that puts you in the right places. So we got to continue to do that going forward.
You've been doing this a while now, and you look pretty calm. Are you nervous at all? And what are you telling the team about nerves and dealing with nerves?
I mean, I don't think you really talk about that type of stuff. I mean, you just try to go out and play. I've been doing this for a long time. You're trying to tell me how old I am, but I mean, you just take it step by step. You just try to hope that everybody's on the same page. You always get nervous before the games. I don't care whether you're a player or a coach, but once you've been through it, you understand that's part of the game. So, but we don't harp on that. We don't harp on that in our meetings or anything like that. We just talk about what our goals are, how we need to get better, and how we can achieve them. So that's it.
Brewster, obviously Reed had a great high school career. But was there a time early on, or when did you realize, hey, this guy's going to adapt really quickly? We really got something here where he's going to have a really good freshman year.
Probably the practices for Canada. Yeah.
Did you see that early?
Yeah, we were
okay. What did you see that told you that?
We said, okay, he's a little bit better than we thought. So, for me, because I actually watched him a lot. Like I was out in the spring that year recruiting, so I actually followed him. I actually was the one that sort of watched his games in the spring, a little bit right before summer, and he's a little better athlete than I thought. I always loved his passing, even as an AAU player. You know what I mean? He always found it, saw it before it happened. But I just think for us, it was about his athleticism and his shooting, because he wasn't always a great shooter in AAU. So his shooting has become so much more consistent.
Is that just from practice, or did you guys change anything in his shooting?
Nah, we didn't change anything. Cal talks about it. He says high school coach said the reason why his shooting changed because he had to take all the shots as a high school player, and he had 15 guys on him at all times. So, so you took some tough shots all the time. So, but I would say that was the biggest thing. But for me, probably was a little bit better athlete than I thought he was.
Bruiser, you saw his AD a lot. How beneficial do you think it was to him that it seemed like they didn't really have a lot of stars? I mean, obviously he was a star, but he didn't play like one on that team. How beneficial was it to be in that situation and then come into this one already kind of having played like that?
Now the kid wasn't McDonald's All-American now. I mean, keep
But I'm
forget
saying-
the kid wasn't like he didn't just pop up and they say, "Oh my goodness, look at this kid." Now he was a top 25 player in the country. So I mean, that part of it was, like I said, for me, I thought he was a good athlete, but not as good as he ended up being. But I mean, we thought he could play. We thought he would be okay as a player. Now he's had a phenomenal season. One of the things you learn about players are their IQs, how they pick up. I think this team here for young kids have great IQs. And he's one of them. He's the guy's one of the highest IQs on the team, basketball IQs on the team. But I think all our freshmen are pretty good, and I think that's one reason why we've had some of the results that we have is because they're able to do that. But, we thought he'd be a good player. Our expectations, I know the kid is a folk hero here, but, we thought he'd be good. But, I know y'all love it that, he's done what he's done. But we thought he would be good. You know what I mean? We thought he'd be a good player. So some of the stuff is not surprising us.
Thank you. We're gonna get the players in.
All right, good.